was mich halten beim Leben bis zum Ende. Welch Fuhr, keine Eretz ist Fuhr.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome to another edition of Shmoozing with Avi. My guest today is a very special young man who has impressed me incredibly with a short film that he's made called Kaddish. But what makes it so unusual is that he is a Bangladeshi filmmaker based in New York. He was born in Abu Dhabi, raised in Dhaka. He runs a nonprofit film production company, Image Maker Films, has an MFA in filmmaking from the City University of New York, and has received numerous awards for his films, the Nyman Awards in New York for 3 of his films, Maze, Statue of an Angel, and the film we'll be talking about a lot later, Kaddish. Best Narrative Award from the ISA Los Angeles for Maze and Kaddish. His recent film Kaddish has been shown in multiple festivals around the world, including the 43rd Asian American International Film Festival in New York. Kaddish received the honorable mention for Best Fiction from the Nyman Awards in 2019, received the Best of Fest, Best Director Awards in the Southern Arizona Independent Film Festival in 2020, and the Best Film of the Festival Audience Choice Award at the Punta del Jewish Film Festival in Uruguay in 2022. The film was also awarded Best Fiction in the City University of New York Asian American Film Festival. I am so honored to have with us today Razid Season. Razid, welcome to Shmoozing with Avi. I'm so excited to have you here, so honored to have you here. And I am so impressed with your work, really. The film you made is part of an entire lexicon of modern Holocaust and Yiddish films. And we'll talk about the Yiddish element later. But before that, can you tell our audience where you grew up, how you grew up, and when was the first time you ever heard about the Holocaust or Jewish or Yiddish?
So I grew up in Bangladesh. I was born in Abu Dhabi, in Emirates, and then I was a little kid actually. When my parents, my mom, my family with siblings, we moved to Bangladesh, and then I grew up there. It was kind of a remote in a countryside setting where we were living by then, and. So I studied in my country. My schooling was there, and I heard about Holocaust, like about Jewish people, the tragedy, and the Holocaust, Nazis, and all this from my mom actually when I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, and she was reading a news article or something, and then she was just telling me about the Yiddish diaspora that lived across the Eastern Europe, and how this tragedy took place. And she was talking about they have been killed by the Nazis and brutally. So first time, that's how I came to know. Even I did not understand all of it by then, but I got a first impression.
But you grew up Muslim.
Yes, I grew up Muslim. My parents are Muslim, but my parents are educated. They are, I must say, they are religious. They have faith. They believe. They also, at the same time, they are very modern.
So you found out about the Holocaust and Jews and Yiddish when you were somewhere between 10 and 11. But, you know, it obviously it made a very deep impression on you, even though you may not have understood all of that at the time. Can you tell us how you grew up and eventually got into the film world?
So when I was growing, and in my somewhere in my late teens, I was very passionate about filmmaking. Actually, maybe I was 15, 14, 15. By then I was I had from somewhere I got this thought that I want to be a filmmaker. Someday I want to make films. I didn't even understand by then. I didn't understand what is filmmaking and film, all this, but I was so attracted to it, to this medium. And then when I was 19, then I went to a film appreciation course. Like it's a institute, Bangladesh Film Institute, and they were offering some kind of film appreciations to young people. Also, they had some courses for professionals who were already professionals, and they need some kind of advance, or they need some kind of film courses. So then I enrolled there, and from there my journey begins.
So, what were the kind of films that you were watching as a teenager that impressed you the most and that influenced you to want to make movies? And then tell us about the first films that you made.
As a but in my late teens, as I said, I was in Bangladesh Film Institute doing film appreciation course, but I got involved with their film club. And then from film club, we used to arrange the weekly screening and wall cinema, you can say. They used to screen films, classic films from the Soviet films, the American classics, the third cinema, the Latin cinemas, the Japanese or Asian films, classic films from Indian subcontinent. So from there, actually, I had the opportunity to watch and think and also discuss about films. So many films actually influenced me there. Um, one of the film that I must say, the Satyajit Ray is the greatest filmmaker from Indian subcontinent. Also, he is one of the classic filmmaker of world cinema. His first film is in Bengali name. It's called Pather Pachali. It has an English name called Song of Little Lord, and that film moved me a lot. I and over the years, I had seen many films, especially the classic film directors like Ingmar Bergman. I can name one of my favorite filmmaker from Sweden. He died in 2007. His earlier films, especially The Seventh Seal, and Federico Fellini's The La Strada, and Akira Kurosawa's Desu Zala and Rashomon. There are few films of all their classic, and so these films actually moved me a lot, and I found kind of a passion that a justification that I want to be a filmmaker. Here, these are the some examples.
Do you remember any Holocaust films during
Yes,
those years?
yes, I did the shop on the
Up
main
on
street.
Main Street.
Yeah.
Yes, Young
Oh,
Gadar.
that's my favorite classic film, black and white, and the woman,
It
she
won,
is,
it won the
yeah,
Academy Award in 1965.
yeah, and she says she was cooking in shabbos, and she was cooking preparing a chicken, but that was pathetic. Like, like in a small setting, we see the horror of the Holocaust there, like how they are seizing the properties.
That was the great Yiddish actress Ida Kaminska, who
Yeah,
was nominated for an Academy Award for that film as
yeah.
well.
When I saw that film, actually, I was in my 20s.
Mm.
I had seen the film actually a few times. uh, like I like that film. Also, I have seen a lot of very popular Steven Spielberg Schindler List.
There
Uh,
was a great film by Lena Wertmuller called Seven Beauties. And that too was an amazingly powerful Holocaust film. Um, what was the first film you decided you wanted to make and why?
so my first film was a short film. It's a 3 minute short, and um, the name was Rules. Rules. We see a blind mother is playing blindfold game with her little daughter, like 6, 7 years old daughter, in an ordinary afternoon. And that film won actually very. I was a student by then in Dhaka University of Dhaka, and that film took actually got few awards in the competition, like a student inter-university international film festival, like this kind of student and university festivals. And then my second film was a
And
short doc.
how old were you when you made that movie?
I when I made that, actually I was 25,
All
and
right.
then
So at 25, you were already winning awards for your short films.
yeah,
What
I
was your
was
second film?
the second film I made. It's called Battle for a Speech. It's a short documentary that talks about the rise of the radical Islamist in my country, Bangladesh. By then, we were facing some kind of uh, different reality which never had in Bangladesh. The free thinkers, free riders, progressive people. Um, they were attacked and hacked to death, like stabbed in the street uh, with arms and all. So that was a horrible situation. Few years that Bangladesh experienced, and then so they were throwing, imposing, it's called fatwa, writing, said this guy, this person has to be killed because his writing is against Islam or something. So there was a new reality, and government was fighting, and actually they were um, underground group, and because of that, I thought I should make a film. So my film focused on few personnel, like the person, his name is Abhijit Rai. He was killed when he was U.S. citizen, I think so. He was working here in the U.S. and he traveled to Bangladesh. In the annual book fair, he had a new book that got published. And one evening, when he was returning home with his wife, some came and yeah, and then stabbed him, and he died then and there. And my film talks about this radical, like the sudden rise of this radical group that is actually threatening a secular country. Bangladesh, actually, by constitution, claims they are secular, and but majority people, they are Muslims, but doesn't mean that it's an Islamic country. So it gives all citizens equal rights by constitution. But there are like people, there are different groups, and they have different mandates and different agenda. I'm not saying that we can say that that group actually representing Islam's anyway. They are not. They have some kind of agendas, and they know better what they are trying to do. And but this was affecting the society there. So I made a 15-minute short film, and in 2015, end of 2015. Yeah. Then after that,
Well, wait a minute. Did you feel, after you made that film, did you feel in danger yourself?
yes.
Oh my goodness. I mean, this is extraordinary. So you stayed after that,
Yeah.
or did everybody in your family get up and leave?
No, my family then left, and then I got a scholarship by the same time, and I came to the States. And my family then they are Canadian. They came to Canada.
So you went to New York.
I came to in California. I studied there in University of California. After that, I got enrolled to the City University of New York. Got another scholarship to study here.
Right. Wow. So before we get to your American life, you just blew me away with that story. I have to admit, I was not expecting that. So just before we talk about your life in America, while you were still in Dhaka, did you ever encounter Jewish people or have any experience with Holocaust events or
That's a nice question. So, I grew up Muslim. So in Quran, I find the name Bani Israel, which is Bani Israel in Arabic, Bani Israel. In India, they say Bani Israel. Uh, and Quran also mentions somewhere like Jews, right? It talks about Jews. So we did not have Jewish people. And I was the only thing that I find the reference in the Holy Scriptures, we don't see them. Who are they? How they look like? So I'm talking about when I was kind of like at 10, 11 by then. When I was growing up, I had seen many Holocaust films. There, I don't know if the actors are some are Jews, maybe some are not. That's fine. But in person, that I will see a Jew actually when I came to the States. So it's an interesting story. I don't know why I was trying to see Jewish people. Why? What is attracting me, or what is the call? Why I'm trying to find people and see them. So I was Googling randomly synagogue near me in California. And it's not like New York City. I was living in San Diego. It's not like New York City. You have public transportation, services like everywhere. I walked miles after miles to find the synagogue, and I find it is closed. Every synagogue I go is closed, 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 closed. And I remember in synagogue El Emmanuel. It is in San Diego. I went there a few times over the week, and it was always closed. I don't know when they open. Google says they are open this hour to this hour. I don't see them, and I'm also scared. I don't look. Maybe I look so alien. They may think like I'm trying to trespass, or I have some kind of intention. Uh, I was so scared about myself too. If somebody comes and call cops and do something. So one day like that, I went to maybe all from Oceanside to Grand Street, Mirameja, everywhere. All the synagogues there are across the around San Diego. I made the visits, and I found them closed. There was one synagogue I found. I didn't know it's Shabbat is on Saturday. And that day I went there, and I see this open. and I see a lot of people with yarmulke and the so
Oh,
yeah, and that was not orthodox though. They don't have there was maybe a conservative synagogue, and the rabbi came, and I don't know it's rabbi. I saw a long beard, and I spoke to him, and he stopped. He had two other person, and he said, I said, can I speak to you? He said, I'm rabbi. I have to lead the prayer. Now I have to go. So you were rabbi. I just made an expression, and I tried to shake my hand with him. He said, I'm a regular person. I'm not a holy person. So I said, I like to see, I have never seen Jewish people. This is the first time I see Jewish people, even from a distance, and I'm speaking to you. You are the first person I'm talking to a Jewish person in my life. So I tried to go find Jewish people. So I went to many synagogues and I found them closed. Can I come and see? He said, no, you can, because of security reason. You can come like this way. You have to go to our website. There is an application. You have to submit the application. We will review and give you a grant, access to our synagogue when you can come and see, and we will contact. So I couldn't do that because I moved to New York by then. Then in Forest Hill Synagogue, I went there. I was passing by and I found the synagogue and I went inside. It was so cold and I had a big jacket. I just moved to New York. I grew up in a tropical country, so warm, so humid, and this is opposite. And I can tolerate. I don't wear that big jacket. Now I was wearing a big jacket. I stepped into the synagogue, and there are a lot of people there, and they were all looking at me because I'm the person who looks very different. Also have a big jacket, and a person came. He was calling me doctor. Doctor, where are you from? So I said, I'm from Bangladesh. Oh, really? So from the conversation, he comes to know that we don't have Jewish. He said, it's a shame. You don't have Jewish people. So they were all one after one. They wanted me to take off the jacket, and I didn't understand why. He said, be comfortable, hang the jacket. I said, no, I'm fine. And at one point, one young guy came and he said, no, you have to take it off. Everybody took off their jacket. You have to take it off. Then I was thinking, oh my God, maybe they are thinking I may have some bombs, I have to, I care about their feelings too. I mean, that's how people come and sometimes bomb and shoot the synagogue and the religious gatherings, and even in the bar. This is so strange country here. So I said, okay. Then I took it off. Then I found a Moroccan Jewish in the synagogue, and he was talking to me. He also thought maybe I'm from somewhere, Arab or somewhere. I said no, and then we talked, and from there we actually then I made a short film, El Malay Rokamim, God is compassionate, and Florence Grossman. She is an Austrian Jew. Uh, it was not that planned. I was visiting her. I had camera and everything, and I said, "Would you perform?" And she said yes. And I gave her, in a sense, some storyline. I gave her 2 lines only, which she would say in Yiddish. It's very short, 7-minute film. I made it, and she passed away 2 years ago, last year in 2021. And she's lived for 96 years here. And then I made a film, Maze. Maze is talking about, it does not have any dialogue. It's more visual. Talks about the Arabic lady who came from many Arabic nations, and she in New York with her husband, and she her own faith, like it's not religious faith, the norms, like she's wearing a veil, traditionally, and that is questioned, like she some question raised in her, that whether, and she encounters a new cultural context. She encounters a new kind of thinking and questions about gender inequality, and then she wants to come off the veil, and she that is the film about. And then I made a statue of an angel. We see South Asian um, immigrant, undocumented, and how he is his life, how he is going through, and he is working under the table. He is people here in the capitalist society. They say the Statue of Liberty is, is a sign of some, respect, and all this. He is put on a Statue of Liberty's gown, and he's waving in the street, working for $4 an hour, something like that. And he is living so inhuman, and because of his immigration status and all this. And then he one day he gets the news from his country that his son actually joined ISIS. That's actually devastated him and actually eventually took his life. And he couldn't take it that his son would join any kind of radical group. Then I made another film. It's a very short called Chase. It's about a Syrian refugee also encounters Islamophobia, some kind of.
So
Then
the
I made,
theme, I'm amazed because now again you are even more fascinating to me now, because it seems as if the theme of your work has to do with refugees, with interrelationships between different peoples, and I find it very sad that the initial response is always suspicion. We're always afraid. We're afraid of the different person. We're afraid of refugees. We're afraid of someone who looks like you walking into a synagogue with a thick
yeah.
coat, and the first assumption is, oh, he's probably got bombs. I mean, that is really, really sad to me, and maybe someday it won't be that way. Um, so you are obviously fascinated by this concept, and the idea of suffering and refugees and adaptation. And so let's talk about Kaddish. I watched the movie and I was so taken with not only the fact that it was beautifully shot and so powerful, um, and then learning who made it even more fascinating to me. And it's part of what I feel is a whole wave of films that are now being made about these subjects, and again, coming back to the Yiddish language. So, can you tell us about what inspired you? What was the initial inspiration for you to want to make this film? And then how did you go about the process of coming up with the concept, storyboarding it, and eventually making it?
So, my country also suffered from genocide. They had war in 1971, where is long before I was born. But we grew up with the history and all the evidences, the videos and documentaries, and read a lot of history about the. So it left a huge um, feelings for these kind of, like, any atrocities people are facing across the world. And so from there I can even not, I'm not Jewish or I'm not from Eastern Europe, and or so I still feel make the connection. Your pain is my pain when I understand. Um, so when you don't have voice, take my voice, speak. When I don't have, I use yours. So it hasn't has to be like that. I have to have that background, but I still feel the pain. But the connection is maybe because I'm from a war-torn country that was actually got independence from the on the bloodshed of the so then in Kurdish, I would say I used to research a lot about the religion. Is when I was in like early 20s in history, religion, linguistics, and all this. And then I know a lot about Judaism when even I wasn't in the States. I haven't seen any Jewish people. I did not by then in 2004, 5. I'm talking about that time. I googled a lot. I did not find Torah online. They don't share. The Christians actually they share their Old Testament. You can find it Old Testament, the Christian version of Bible. But I in 2004 I never found Torah like online. So I was reading a lot, and one day uh, I like my- I was googling how they do the mourner's prayer, if it is different than the Muslims. Yeah, Muslim and Islam and Judaism is very similar.
Sure.
And yeah, it's very similar. So I can pick them because I see, and and then I came to know the Kaddish prayer. And when I played it, I found it so like um, it is moving for me, uh, and I liked it. And in this prayer, it's just mourner prayers, but it is actually talking about some pain and some desire. You see the subtitle in the film also. Here is it recites Kaddish, and the subtitle is talking about the God's kingdom and be established and all this. So this Jewish community, they suffered. If you go to their history from the early history, they were attacked by Greeks. Their temple were demolished. They became kind of nomad. They Ashkenaz, and then they um, moved Ashkenaz, and from there they encounter in medieval time the Spanish Ottoman kings who kick them out. We get Sephardic, then Ashkenaz goes to far eastern, down the Eastern Europe, and we see. So they did not. They had land, they lost it, and they lived with a dream, and finally they encounter the most uh, like um, I mean the Holocaust, this one, so they had to suffer this. They lost people, women, children, babies, men, everybody.
You're right. The persecution goes back to the Inquisition and the Sephardic Jews and the expulsion of the Jews from Spain in
Yeah,
1492. And so the suffering of the Jews goes on a lot.
yeah.
Um,
You lost sufferings, and then in the 40s, the final,
right.
and so I someone when is stateless, don't have a home, and then made home somewhere, and they kick them, they face hatred. He said, I have feeling for that. So when I read, I heard Kaddish prayer first time, and it moved me. And then I planned, that maybe I will make a film, because I guess it is not based on, it is based on true facts, but not based on its real story there. But I believe there were many situations, thousands, hundreds of thousands of situations who had this kind of feelings, that who would actually decide their Kaddish. When there are patriarchal norm, there should be 10 men. They have no men at all. They don't know where they, how their dead bodies would be treated when they die. Would they be dead in a gas chamber? Would they be dead in the extermination camp? How? They don't know. So it was a very bad situation, like so of the humanity, like so I made the film, and I decided I will make a film. And so I,
So where did you shoot it? How did you find the actors? And what I love about your film is actually how little dialogue you tell the story visually so well. And what little dialogue there is so powerful because it talks to exactly what you were just saying, this need to be able to say Kaddish, which is so important in the Jewish faith. And back then, here's a rabbi in the film
yeah.
and a young man, and how do they deal with their situation? And this is a fictional story that is based most probably on real situations that arose. How did you decide who was going to be in it, and how did you get to the Yiddish?
Okay. So first is like I also want to say one thing. You see two other things. You see the last scene, they are caught by the Nazi, and they die with their own dignity. They did not try to hide anymore. They recited that with their dignity rising up their head. The also the scene, you have seen twins. The twin scenes, actually, I was motivated by Eva Kor's story. She had twins, and she was experimented by Dr. Mengele, Joseph Mengele. I reached out to the ambassador that I knew here, who was actually helping me when I was making film. I said, if you can locate Eva Kor and show this film somehow. But unfortunately, she passed away. Um, that scene, especially, that I put two characters there, twins, in respect of her, and she was alive when I was making the film. And so the Yiddish thing, when I decided I will make Kaddish, and it's gonna show Nazi occupied Poland, and I would make it in Yiddish, original language. But many of my mentors, they did not support it. They said, you see Steven Spielberg Schindler List, it's in English. Because they don't find there are a lot of, like, you have to, when you take a project, you have to think a lot of, what are feasible or not. I said, no, I'm gonna make it. It's not gonna sound original. Like, if you see Bangladesh and you assume they speak their native language, if you see this film, Bengalis will be speaking English, even no matters they are educated or whatever, but you're not gonna accept it. Even you don't understand Bengali any word. Just you don't hear a foreign language, you're not gonna accept it. So I made it. Then the Yiddish, finding Yiddish actor was very challenging because I did not find at all. I went to Yiddish reps. There are some New York-based Yiddish theater actors, and I reached out to them, but they did not. They said they need, they had a lot of requirements, money, and all these. What they asked. Actually, I said I can't, and I can't afford that. And they are professionally, they are working in big films, in Hollywood films, small characters. Maybe somebody's coming, this, someone has a Jewish character or Yiddish, maybe one line they have to speak. So like extra, also some Netflix projects they have done, but they couldn't help at all. Then I said I will find just regular actors. Then, but the challenge it would be there, as you said, there are few dialogues only. So, and it's easy. If you want me to say English in British way, you give me 3 lines and I practice 6 months. Even I'm Bengali or Bangladesh, I think I would be able to sound same like British in 6 months for 3 lines. That's not gonna be the same accent. So I found the actors, did the auditions. Rabbi actually speaks German. He came for Nazi character. He's interested in Nazi character. He had done some kind of small role, very little role, Nazi roles before in English. But he said he is a German speaker. He knows German. I said, I found Rabbi in him. I said, why don't you be Rabbi? And Yiddish and German are close, you know, you can do it. And then the young person, Akiva, he is a French speaker, came from French, but Jewish. He went to Yeshiva University and all this, did, visit to Israel, speak a little bit Hebrew. So he got some kind of accent because of that, French and Hebrew. So, and then I found I was not finding any Yiddish translator. I reached out to Boston, a Yiddish writer. I reached out to upstate New York, who is a lawyer. He speaks Yiddish. I reached out to New York universities. There is a group and who speak Yiddish and writes in Yiddish. And I went to Holocaust museums and all this. Nobody cares. They said they can't help. Then I was walking in Borough Park, much more Jewish, Orthodox communities there. Now there is an interesting thing, and some people talk to me, some people don't talk to me. I was asking a guy, he was wearing a jeans itself. He was himself, he was not looking at me, he was talking to me. I said, what's wrong? Why you are not looking at me? Because I'm talking to you. And he said he was not kosher. So I did not lose my faith. There are people, and I'm sure I will find my, person who will translate. And I found Peony Top. He was at a salon. And I said, you have to apologize me. If you don't want to look at me, that's completely fine. He said, why I'm not going to look at you? I said, no, somebody said I'm not kosher. He said, maybe this is his problem. Talk to me. so, so I said, I am trying to make this film, and he was surprised. He said, where are you from? Are you Christian? I said, no, I'm not Christian. I said, I'm from Bangladesh, I'm Muslim. And he said, oh my God, really? And that actually, he said, and I told him the story in short there, Eretz Israel, and he said, oh my God, how do you know this word? And and he said, okay, I will help you. Then he did the literal translation of Yiddish 7, 10 dialects. But the translations, in Yiddish, they can read how, some R is ech, V is like, there is different sounds, like the literal English way we see. And then I said, I have to record you each dialogue you will speak in the same emotion. You speak, I will record it, and I will train my actors. And then we did train my actors for like around 4 months, and they sound exactly, people when see this, how did you find Yiddish actors? Also this is like in like Polish dialect, like in Polish way Yiddish speakers. They are in Lithuania, Hungary. There are different, little bit, like they are intelligible, but little bit changes. So I tried to be very genuine to the language. And
You were. I mean, listen, I'm a fluent Yiddish speaker from birth. Yiddish was my first language. I started Yiddish theater when I was 10 years old, and I've done many Yiddish theater projects and many Yiddish films. and several of them about the Holocaust. Interestingly enough, there's a whole series of these short films that have now been made on Holocaust themes using Yiddish.
Mhm.
So I wish you would have found me because I would have helped you right
Oh,
away.
yeah.
And I'm sad that those others were not able to help.
No, that's actually, I don't blame them. That's an experience for me. Now I have a lot of Jewish friends. People think I'm Jewish too, you know, and because it's matter of trust, reliability. I'm a stranger, and that's not the actually that's not the standard way to look for a translator or somebody, but I did, you understand my situation. I came very new guy here, I don't know, and this is from out of my community. And so that is like, that was a huge experience there.
You know, one of the most important things I find about the Jewish faith is that we are supposed to open our doors, especially during Passover, to those who are not Jewish and accept them into our world. And so I feel that, you know, it's very important for us to open our doors to you because look at this brilliant piece of work that you've created around our Jewish experience, but it's universal because as I was looking at the film, and I'm curious, where did you shoot the film?
Oh, I shot the film in upstate New York in various places. Actually, initially, I thought I would shoot in Philadelphia, actually in Pennsylvania state, but for some kind of it was not feasible. I would have to spend a lot of money, so I found places like in New York State. We shot in New York State, in mostly in what we call near to Vermont, we call North Country or something like Saratoga,
Hmm.
and very north,
Wow.
and also
Because
in New York.
the locations looked very authentic. I
Mhm.
thought it was you know had gone to Europe and there were all these bombed out buildings, which is so indicative of where we are today. You know, the idea that today in Ukraine they are dealing with the exact same situations, people being rounded up and shot. And, I just feel that your film is so universal, even though it tells a Jewish story from the 1940s, it is still a universal film for everyone and every people, and so contemporary and so important for people to see. Tell us a little bit about how, after you made the film, you started getting the recognition from all these different festivals.
The film also won an award from Columbus Jewish Film Festivals, Ohio. So there was a competition called AES competition, and they liked it so much, and it won an award there. And as you said, Punta del in Uruguay, and they got actually audience award. They had like 2,000, more than 2,000 audience across the all venues. So they actually voted for Kaddish. They liked it, and so I'm happy that it actually won few awards, and people, yeah, actually mostly the festival took place during the pandemic, so all the festivals were in like online. People saw online, or maybe, but the Punta del was in person, like it held very recently this year, and they had like from their Ministry of Culture, and they had like arrangement. So that was like that makes me happy when I think that people came and actually saw the film. So yeah, I want that people watch this film, especially like growing up guys, like going to high school, the senior high school.
It's very complicated. There are so many, the Jews lived in Poland for over 1,000
Yeah.
years and were very much part of Jewish culture, and then they weren't. And so there were those who were very anti Semitic, and there were those who were very pro Semitic who tried to help the Jews, and there were many who didn't, and it's a very complicated history.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think there are a lot of stories yet to be told. Razid, we have to bring our show to a close. What's next for Razid season?
So I'm trying to make a feature length film, and I'm still writing. But making a feature length film is very uh, like a tough job in terms of the funding, in terms of financing, and all these things. A huge problem. So I don't know yet, but let me finish my script first. Then let's see how we can find its way to make this film.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So thank you, Razid, for being part of our show. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Razid season, and you have to see Kaddish. Thank you for tuning in to Schmoozing with Avi. Stay tuned for more and more and more. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Avi. Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.